Thank you so much for coming this afternoon. It's really nice outside. Thank you, White Columns, for hosting, Erin and Brittany, Jake, everyone who's been helpful with this show. It's been such a pleasure and such an honor. I'm very excited about this reading this afternoon. All three poets, I have followed their work for some time now, and actually haven't met any of them in person, so I was like, oh, this is going to be a great opportunity. So we're going to keep the intros really short. I'm going to start by reading. I'm going to introduce Woe. We'll take about a 5-minute-ish break, and then I'll introduce Chang and Lynn, and then I think one will just segue into the other instead of me interrupting. All right? Okay, great. Thank you again for coming. I'm going to start with a book. With a poem from my book. It's called Trust Exercise, and it's mostly because I visited my esthetician the other day, and it's kind of a little bit about her. Trust Exercise. When I visit my esthetician, I lay on my back and open my body into a diamond, peel off a layer of my face, and soften my head into the table, even though I am inside a synthetic forest. I pretend I am in an office cubicle directly beneath the sun. The cubicle sits atop a pyramid, which sits atop a lake. Every day my fingers grow longer and my eyes grow wide like shapeless lakes. Every day my love gets firmer and drier and the slightest bit fishier, like bonito flakes drifting away from the center of the bowl and towards the light. Everything moves in opposition to death. My fingers move with pleasure into your mouth. Instant transformation is possible when terrifying your offspring into submission. Thank God I live in this day and age where the women are heavenly and bountiful. Thank God I can do a cartwheel. Thank God for natural lighting, for lightening the mood. Some facts about myself. After the physical therapist said that the pain is mostly in my head, my arm has been hurting less. That is the power men have on my psyche. I learned how to throw a cocktail party from strangers, from my mother and my grandmother. At night, I grind lifesavers with my teeth and then spit them out into the sky. Scrape up the mess of stars and black stuff and place it in a vial for analysis. Blue mouthguard paired with blue roll of tape on bedside table. The color blue is a stand-in for me and all the options I could be at this moment in time. Secretly, I just wanted to hear Jules say the word crudité. I wish I were an alternative singer-songwriter that could carry a tune. I wish I knew how to fall in love with a doctor. My favorite type of man is a Midwestern dreamboat with a 5 o'clock shadow. My favorite song is a love song written by Swedish people who have never fallen in love. Amanuensis. I imagine killing all the ants in my apartment with my smallest vibrator. I make them dance and shake, give them little seizures, lick my body when I come. Submission is easiest when done alone. I identify more with a doormat than a goddess. A misfit cumulus cloud reaches its fingers upward towards a larger network of clouds in hopes of landing a new job in the cloudy marketplace. Networking is what you make of it. You can be the woman who says yes or the woman who says no. I don't expect to see leopard prints on young women, but when I do, I make a run for it. The survival rate is higher for those who don't react in ugly situations. But I am not afraid of death or the little bruises I pick up along the way. I can get down naked on all fours and be the woman who says yes, even though I am the woman who says no. Okay, and then I'm going to read, these are all mostly new poems that I made for the show, and Anne very generously put her time and creative energy and helped put it together. You can pick it up at the back. But yeah, these are all new poems, so I have, you know, a little jitters around it, but I feel like this is a good space to share them with everyone. Divinations, divining hands, flowers that shake and flowers that grow. Nocturnal machine whispers inside my front pouch. To be possessed by a spiritual entity, growling. Torso alit with flame and pleasure. My first act of indecency is slowly crawling on all fours across a well-lit room. My truest form of self is the Lamb of God grazing endlessly in the forbidden meadow. Conundrum. Heads of clear-eyed cabbage await the opening of another portal. It seems simple at the onset. Waiting, that is. A cube of tofu jiggles on a temple plate. To eat the bird, feathers and all, their tiny minds tumbling down a dark tunnel. Now I know why you're a sad vegetarian. Now I know why escalators function best when scaled to the size of their master riders. Remember when I rode the smallest escalator in the world? I think we were in China. I made myself deliberately small. I stood as still as a mannequin, my pockets stuffed with wild grasses and noses of various sizes. A tale. Breasts and eggs can spend whole lifetimes in the sky and never fall. The saint of darkness hovers over a herd of immunity. A girl drops from the sky at the top of the hour every hour. Scientists invent whole new fields of study to defend their research. The curious case of the egg that fell from heaven and down my throat. I birth a half-human, half-lamb in an open field. I start taking strides to becoming a less public person. But first, I want to be baptized in an enormous elevated tank in front of everyone I know. Televised and broadcast on jumbotrons across the country, the most consequential actions in a lifetime are irreversible, like using your fingers to snap the head of the spinning flower off its neck. Zoo. On the passive lawn, green peacock feathers fan out like baby bok choy. A medical history. I swallow a pill to open the field of my youth. What if last night was the last night my lamb will feed from me? What kind of madness will ensue with such heavy breasts? A dumb cat waves at me from the kitchen window. You start off nearsighted, then farsighted, then no-sighted. My insecurities have nothing to do with the size of my eggs, but the shapes of my doorways. A pearl necklace rolls out of my eyes and onto the dirt. I pick it up and hold it in between my teeth. My father, the doctor, told me to never swallow your own phlegm. My periods are irregular when in a state of equilibrium. Playdate. What concerned the mother the most were the harmonious wails of ecstasy. You cannot remold the old, she told me, so their shame becomes your child's shame like teeth marks on the brain. God, I don't know why I spend so much effort giving like a deranged tree when I barely have time to feel the sun and the moon never casts its light on my grass. In playdates with couples in which one member is a mother and the other is a poet, my curiosity becomes deviant and sexual in nature. I imagine making love to them and their friends in an idyllic garden. I water the limbs that flower in between the folds. China before communism. Perhaps flowers should be forbidden for children until they know how to better take care of themselves. I underestimated how taxing the experience of feeling forgotten was on my body. I pee with rage into the open sea. And this poem is also in the Joy and Terror. But if you purchase it in the zine, you'll see these beautiful color stamps that my kids put on them. And yeah, so all of the poem drawings that are up installed in the bulletin board, all of the paper were paper that my kids drew and messed on. We have loads and loads and pads of paper, and they usually just end up being recycled. So it was nice to be able to use them for this project. And my older one was just so happy to see her work, her drawings on the gallery wall. Fable. There was a neighborhood that was scared of bears. They had their children in cars and closets, guarded them with brooms and knives. One man who knew no such fear befriended the bears. At lunchtime, the bears would gather around and eat out of his hands. After dinner, they would sleep next to him in sleeping sacks. The thing is, not everyone is afraid to die or wear the same outfit twice. I wear an old brown bathing suit on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The elastic in the straps makes a snapping sound as I tie it around my neck and watch my neighbors move their cars back and forth. I see them at the store buying varieties of milk. I catch them looking at their reflections in storefront windows, gleaming. I spy on them at night from behind dazzling blue curtains. Respite. Stoned and unafraid, I pleasure myself with the feather from my cap. I have time. I'm going to read. I'll read a few haikus that are kind of interspersed throughout this collection. Sky. Little girl riding flying goose. Geography is obedient. Pond, sitting lotus twins, alone in pond, glass-eyed, reluctant, tender. Western thought. Inside a suburb, the eyes of numerous see unspeakable things. Pelvis, between your legs, a fruit bowl suggests the future uninhabited. Rural pleasures, thin green ribbons tied around gnarled tree trunks, young tongues licking village winds. Deviation, crimson moon behind pernicious cloud. Submission is never a sin. I'll conclude with this one. Visitor experience, interior with Venetian red, unable to move, death comes fast. Thank you so much. I'm going to introduce Wo Chan next. Wo is a poet and drag performer. They are the winner of the 2020 Nightbook Poetry Prize and the author of Togetherness, which will come out later this year. September, I think. Wo has received fellowships from McDowell, NIFA, Kundiman, the Asian American Writers Workshop, Poets House, and Lambda Literary. They are also a member of the Brooklyn-based drag burlesque collective Switch and Play, and they have performed at the Whitney, MoMA, PS1, NYLA, New York Live Arts. You can follow their work, their drag work, their poetry at The Illustrious Pearl on Instagram. I highly recommend you do that.
Thank you, White Columns, for hosting this event. Thank you, Christine, for organizing this. I can't wait to, see all the art on the wall and see your children's work and hear Chia-Lun's poems and Lynn's poems as well. Chia-Lun, you're also a winner of the Nightbook Prize, so many winners in the audience. So my first book is coming out in September with Nightbook. Because of, I don't know, the what is it called? The supply shortage, or the supply chain shortage, it's been delayed, so I have a pre-order little square here, and then a mock-up drawing, so we're adapting to the times. But my book is, a lot of it is about growing up in my family's Chinese restaurant. It's about doing drag in New York, and it's about fighting deportation case that my family and I were involved in my 20s. All right, excited to share some poems. Thank you all for coming. Performing Miss America at Bushwig 2018, then chillin'. Breathe, some reddish dolphins, these bare feet busted, tore through my capizios unmoisturized. They join your pilgrim black boot. Oh my mammal. The wide weekend's long disclosure of drugs drawn precious, depressed, high function, high anxious. 2018 gifts us fed dossiers on our stupendous thumbs down needs. You need therapy. I need money. We ditch our brains, unable to shred the fog of futures where civics, passion, paycheck, and pleasure meet. 2 hours ago, we ran late through slashing rain on Smith, tumbling you, your sister, family in the Uber XL backseat, helped me paste a glittering red America on my toilet paper sash. We made it, early at Bushwig, barely attended. I exploded the bouquet, rolled nakedly on stage. I didn't expect to make $14 cash crumpled. I took mushrooms, time unpunched. I found you, sipping rosé back bar. I was so happy. Joy was flapping its wings in the dust bath. You said I didn't seem different, but by then I could no longer bear violence, however simulated. I wanted only to see soft things. Your empath friend, Our Lady of Paradise, gives guided meditations, undoing some violence in synchrony. She sings under the megawatts of her holographic leotard, new songs about her gender dysphoria. My smile pancakes beyond the edges of my Cuisinart face. She's so great, I say, stretching like an accordion. But how useful are words now? By then, I had lost the white pearls glued on my décolleté. They had dropped far, like seeds from a seagull's asshole. Thinking about a feeling is like photocopying a feeling. That scanning light is safe. I brag my brain is fearless, yet I wear my heart smeared across my face, waiting for the all-gendered bathrooms with you. I just wanted to sit and melt like Kerrygold into your fur coat. You said it was real. I knew that. I felt it. I'm gonna throw in some other poems. I wrote this on January 6th last year. Plain spoken, I was supposed to be applying to Drag Race today. Like doe's feet are scooped talenti, blessed being the white canal who packed me virgin on EBT. Love the Gen Z cashier, she's smiling, cooler than me. I go less embarrassed to blitz my own cabinet sugar. It's all day that crying finds me, 1 minute on vortex of creme anglaise, stirring inside. I had work to do. Half wakened from innocence, I envied my friend, then feared strangers grifting a yard sale house dais. Who are you exactly, and when can you live? Why write except that I feel half okay, wrapped in bathwater, my home perm waterlogged, today's cheeks dewy, eyes eucalyptal, Twitter glued. Each release contracts one newer, no surprise nor motive. Cheap as trees is chamber talk, grief precious and expensive. My Dutch baby came out flat as dreams. Casually, she suggests we immigrate again, but where? Does trauma live in her, superstar? She has struggled within and without these beliefs. I think about my mother and just begin to cry. Mine is the life of vacation. She peeps through the keyhole. My throat squints the greater part of a geranium, the other star anise. My mother's name is Autumn. Succinctly, I learned in Chinese, and I have been a liar. My life, sheer and entire, she furnished. I, fundamental loveliness, loathe that late blue waking. Unsurfaced, she bakes in cracked water. Tall world, the shore sheens and comfort making, were all as flower. Dawn's half-formed roots break heirloom, gorgeous is the heart. Where is she? Ripe to the hearth is her rent gut. Of sure I am not lovely, home-slung child birthed on used Cadillac earth. Too far flung to reconcile time where I am dense and young as the millennia I camp. Rain unfastens the bedsheet zinnias. I can't guess the color of those darling curtains, the ones that memory makes of her absence. Thank you all for being in here on this gorgeous day. I hope we all get a lot of air and sunshine after this reading. Years flow by like water. Flowers do yoga in the sun in ways I cannot. Stretching comes difficult because it is too simple, and I believe I am complex more than I actually am. Light, cool water, to be touched with intention, the permission to root and spill into a lust for plain air. When will you let somebody love you, Wo-Chan? I love flowers. I know that's not a radical statement, but I love loving them, John says after I send the snapshot of the colonial garden. Pine mulch, romance, the crying voluptuous bees. The world that aches a strange barn owl tenderness for my friend. I gasp like a new page in a calendar. July 3rd, 2018, there is much I don't say. You can have an unimpressive sense of self. iPhone 6 kissing the mouths of dayglow lilies, the punk rock daisies that wear a choker of spiked white leaves, swollen yellow heads dusty and free of the mind. In my childhood I knew a myth, 10 brothers born to a mother who swallowed a string of 10 pearls. Each child could do one incredible thing. The oldest see miles away, the third lift boulders, the fifth could fly, the sixth impenetrable. 7 could grow tall as a palace gate, 9 could shout the walls down. The youngest brother, though, the 10th, was powerless throughout, a nuisance who wept from fear at each encounter with the villain. Though who antagonized us? The bureaucrat who named us high on his sinecure, the children in sheets tapping at our gate. My brothers and I projected on this drama a schematic for boyhood where we could be mythic, incredible, and Chinese in Virginia's townhouses set across from the Chuck E. Cheese. I was the youngest, My brothers, strong, of clear sight, protected me from what I couldn't see then, and then tormented me for my uselessness. I cried for help until I learned to stop crying. I drew blood. We opened a restaurant. We became something. My oldest brother, hot-tempered and silver hatchback, slingshotting noodles from city to suburb. The second, glamorous in peanut sheen, teenaged and shifting, a walk one-handedly like a black chariot across fire. The third, lead oarman draped in steam, all smiles near the behemoth hair. He was a child, really. I showered with him, shared a room until I was 16. I loved them. I know that is not a radical statement, but I love loving them. I hate how we were raised, though it is done now. I think it is over. The restaurant sold to our neighbor who makes very bad food. Our parents, they are in bed and diabetic, sewn in varicose veins. We lived through these decisions. The air is heavier than when we first arrived in San Francisco airport, my mother staring down the wall of terminal glass that shines a vision of my brothers hauling duffels, dragging luggage, and my babyish hand already sweaty and floating through the shift home that wills to move us and will remove us from each other. I'm going to read like 3 more poems. I have a bunch of poems addressed to nature, which I started writing at the first art residency I ever landed or being awarded. But it came 1 month before my deportation hearing, so it was like this really wild time where I was being given this experience, this privilege, and all I could think about was just uncertainty, right? So I wrote poems kind of just opening my mouth towards nature. At nature I avoid you. With all my heart, I sit on toilets and travel on gravel. Migration is the most expensive cut of meat. It braids me to my birth. I was gived lungs, I was gived brunch, I was gived up to daylight, and diagnosed memoria absentia, a ho-hum souffle in the oven. I collapsed. A father scooped the soggy mess of me in his hands and declared, "What a modernist." Under the operating light, I was lifted, constructed. My teeth glittered in Cantonese. Reading the Yelp reviews of your family's restaurant, a mistake. Lacking any lasting impression. The food is good, but the service is awful. Waitstaff is surly and inattentive. 23 reviews. Your mother's English taped up with smiles. Your father's eyes peeking from the kitchen, and your brother who remains an asshole in every description. Lauren M. details in a 1-star review an argument over a delivery that he brought to her house. It is so authentic, it is painful to read. Your brother becomes angry and slams a full box of food onto her driveway. In February, the steam rises from the wet noodles on the asphalt, rising with his heavy breathing. Your brother is 32 and has spent exactly half his life delivering food. Your mother has shingles and no doctor. Your father, hypertension, no doctor. You have a college degree and will not go back there. Lauren M's profile has 0 friends and 1 review. I wish I could wake up and make a sincere apology. I woke dreaming instead of a past lover rimming my asshole, his persona shifting into my brother's face. I moaned, sunbeams blasted through thin curtains. I felt the fabric of my boxers shift against my anus. I felt regret to wake, then joy to memory, then annoyance, shame at an old feeling, clean in the mirror of seawater, the face that is yours, wrinkling and transparent. Observe the beauty of an emotion. Observe the beauty of an emotion changing. You seem to believe that you must avoid discomfort in your life to actually live. My therapist said that. I didn't feel a hint of sadness. Bored and then resigned, I felt poor at the trial-sized humanity of other people and myself, a smallness that could make the rainbowed mildew of my bathtub weep to grow lush. The cat, half in light and lounging in the window of the real estate office, he stares at the big people living, stacked domino in the blueprint of some Montague Street. Thank you all for being here. I'm excited to hear everyone else's work. I'm just gonna turn this off before it explodes. Okay, great. I'll just end with this poem. At nature, who's willing to forget? Pity disintegrates down to the needlepoint. Red as a kidney bean, I was once a fetus. Don't I deserve some innocence? I feel the beating of my UNICEF heart. It has grown deep. I swear, surefire nature implanted within. Nature is everything, everything, except the artist, which I have decided is me. All night, I've been touching myself. Don't try to catch up. The sun is a circle in the sky, and I am undefeated. A calendar, that's one box following another. Truthfully, I don't think I have the capacity to love right now yet. Call me back. I do want to see you, topless as myself, when in spring I deny thy daddy and still so American. O'er the ramparts I am lightning, swirling with tits the size of late blooming birds' nests. I hate that word. Yet I kiss the rod so I would not strike the barn, which means the animals, the upright ox, femme sheep, the coupled rabbits are safe. Your Lord, who is Lord, and his manifold beasts suckled and slept under the eternal twitching stars of suburbia. How I want so badly to be with you and not sincerely myself. P.S. If silence is golden and silence is violence, then violence is golden, no? You must respond. I've pondered this, ass up in the bath thinking, were you not my only source of information, I would not talk to you. I believe that art and violence are the only things that can truly change another person. It unnerves me that most people cannot, will not appreciate either. All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Wo. That was really incredible. We're just going to take a short 5-minute break, and then we'll come back with Chia-Lun and Lynn. The next two readers are Chia-Lun Chang and Lynn Zhu. I'm just going to read, I'll read both of their intros so they can just seamlessly segue into each other with the reading. Chia-Lun is the author of Prescribe Ye, coming out, also this year in September. She also won the Night Boat Poetry Prize alongside We love Night Boat. Let's see, so she has a chapbook called One Day We Become Whites, put out by No Dear from 2016. She's received support from the Jerome Foundation, Vermont Studio Center, Poets House, and LMCC. She currently teaches contemporary Taiwanese poetry and fiction at the Brooklyn Public Library. Thank you so much. Welcome. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Sorry, you guys. I'm a little bit out of it. Yes, thank you. I'm going to introduce Lynn as well. Born in Shanghai, China, Lynn Zhu is the author of Depths and Lessons, put out by Omnidon in 2013. A very, 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 very important book to me. I love it very much. and the author of "And Those Ashen Heaps That Cantilevered Face of Moonlight," put out by Wave Books, which is already out. Not out yet.
Next week.
Next week, yes, so very, very soon. She's a co-translator of Pea Poems by Lao Yang. She's performed multidisciplinary works at the Guggenheim Museum, the Renaissance Society, and Rising Tide Project. And she teaches at Columbia and co-edits Canarium Books, a really wonderful press that I suggest everyone go out and check out. Thank you.
Hello. I'm very happy to be here. Oh, sorry, I'm a little nervous. So wait, this is a little high. Can you? Yeah. So I'm very happy to be with Christine Shan and Lynn, and also I met a long time ago. We were both fellows from Point House, and it was lots of things happen in the city, and I feel, like especially in pandemic, living in the city is very difficult, but meeting so many wonderful people make it slightly easier. So slightly worth it, not easier. Never easy. So I'm gonna read a couple poems, and they are very short, and I have made sure they're not gonna deduct my stipend. So forgive me. So the first poem I'm gonna read is called "Lay Me Lie Down Like a Song," and so I wrote this poem after this person, Peter Huang, when he tried to assassinate Chiang Kai-shek, he shot "Let me stand up like a Taiwanese" before he was arrested. Let me lie down like a song. The foundation of islander has bounded, yet or not yet. It determines if I can share with people. I always enjoy handwriting in a planner, inserting my fingers into preparation, inviting all possibilities from a sketch. I often see myself throttling into soft clouds, hallucinating. Even relying on the solidified ground is more comfortable than weaponizing my sloppy vigilance. In fact, my planner never exists. This country has no schedule. Clouds are intangible and hollowed. Perhaps I am brainwashed by my own creation. I never told anyone that I am a coward and can't count the time when I wish to say, "Oh yeah?" But I'm too pony. Count the time when I allow my anger to divulge. Count the number of awake, asleep people or patrons in limbo. I will assassin for many reasons, especially for one future, but no one should be coerced to prove I belong. In aerial and artificial history, I request to stand still like any Taiwanese mountain. Let me lie down like a song that has not been heard. I'm gonna read this poem. The title is "Why I Am Not a Comedian." And well, my worst nightmare is if people come to me and say, "You're not gonna be a comedian anyway. You're not funny." But sometimes I'm kind of funny. Sometimes I'm not. So it depends. It's not that easy to be funny. But I try my best. And when I read, I try to be a little bit dramatic, and maybe that's why it's a little. Maybe people are just uncomfortable. Maybe they don't think I'm funny. But anyway, this was a little sad. Anyway, I kind of have to force myself to be a little funny so I can hide how, nervous I am. I guess a lot of writers can resonate with that. Why I am not a comedian? We take funny as painkillers. When we laugh together, our eyes narrow so I don't see the disappointment. Why not also make fun of oneself when no one takes me seriously? Being poor is contagious. Since my rotten organs sell cheap anyway, I try numbing, I try anger, I try fatigue. Only laughter kindle everyone's face into a firework, blooming. Our room becomes brighter than tomorrow. So we take funny to survive. It's free and wholesome without side effects. Being poor, we receive fear and medical bills. We take laughter is the best medicine too seriously and can't stop laughing. Purchasing by impulse is forbidden because mania shovels. Only joke stays young. But the medical reports prove our jokes are made by snakes since we are ill-mannered. I taste venom good and fast. Other members have turned purple and bone dry faster. To cure the disease with mean jokes is temporary. Practicing to be a primary care humorist, I operate electric shock to save poison neighbors. Never a doctor, I'm a lab. I want to slow cook these procedures for the effect to last longer than one meal. A permanent solution is to do, not to fool around. But I have failed. Craving for love is dangerously addictive. As our family has always forbidden addiction, we only shoot each other with addictive humor to express affection. So I have turned my mouth into a private joke yard. In the Neanderthal farm, I have learned to cover trauma with lousy distraction. I jab the joke short, quick on the house. Before I read this poem, just say I like all of your art. So this poem is not. I don't mean I don't like your art. So because there's a lie that I never like your art, but that's not true. Kind of true, but my teeth keep grinding at night. The teeth keep grinding at night. My dentist suggests getting a night gone, or my mouth will be too flat to chew. How am I going to stop sweating without deodorant? Why didn't you inform me before you stand up to leave the conversation? Can I keep the cough away after binging a bag of lozenges? I've been trying to find a sincere way to express I never liked your art, but I don't mind spending time together. Teach me, how can my teeth stop against my will when I'm unconscious? I have told you my most notorious secret. I'm gonna read two poems that Christine said she liked, because those are published on Think Review, and we took a class from Emily Hunt together. That's how we met, and I'm very grateful. And I also took a class from Wall. That was very cool. I think poets are, when we read together and take classes from each other and learn from each other, I think that's the most beautiful thing that we can kind of provide besides jokes. So I'm gonna read these two poems. Well, jokes are free. You're welcome. The color of my face, like the surgeon woman parted and pulled onto the street, I followed the blue-dressed lady step by step until she stopped in front of Silver Knight and was annexed. I am aware of myself making countless mistakes. The loudest voice come in with feng shui, nightmare, and renown. The color of my face in the States isn't just my eyes. I hope my education is a universal disaster. The film of my eyes is another unilateral hint. The season of my face is overcooked and irrelevant. Do not catch them at your gathering table. Teeny, somber, pointing compass, crashing embers into an unfolded firefly, sunburned petals. I send a box of pastel. You Sama, the god of installation. No color represents neon. You need to be someone else and stay the same goshly forever. Why can't we simply love each other's face? You really love my face. Only why wouldn't I be quieter? I too really in love with your face. So why don't you harbor your gross heart? Only true love cares about inside. We are improving every day, aren't we? If I were born in America, I would be proud of who I have become. My bones were bound with the land. My nerves will begin to burn from the truth. To foreigner nationality, I will tangle with refugees, and it is not because history makes them. History makes a superior American, where a killing manifesto has been written. To seek a phonograph to assemble freedom, have I whole chronology upside down? Have I traced the trail in a forgotten map? Have I enforced an agreement by diagnosis law? In an inseparable, inescapable, inseparable, inevitable saga, I stay invisible until the empire murders itself with foggy heroism. I'll volunteer to be an American obituary writer. I'm gonna end with this poem that I think is a little cute. I don't know, maybe you think it's cute. Did anyone ask if crocodiles are hungry? They say these creatures are so aggressive, cold-blooded, ruthless, hideous, and greedy. You ask, who are they? It's the media. No warriors are welcome to their bony plains. What if crocodiles are unapologetic about relaxing under the moist sun, occupy tranquil riverbeds, abiding private section with poovers? What if crocodiles are not hungry for entertainment? What if crocodile tellers arrive with a peace of mind? Do they reflect on the reputation of tiger moms? What if tigers just hanker a softer battle for their cubs? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So that was an awesome reading, right? We've heard so many awesome readings. I want to thank White Columns, Christine, Wo, and Chia-Lun. Thank you for reading with me, letting me read with you. And I love seeing friends in the audience and future friends question mark. So I'm going to read from two poems, two books today. The first one is called Pea Poems, and it's a translation from the Mandarin Chinese that I did with Joshua Edwards from a text by our friend Yang, who is a sound artist from northern China. Although I guess he would call himself more of a noisemaker. And as you know, in China, there's certain risks tied to having convictions of what is good and just. And so Yang has spent the last 2 years in prison, and he was released in December, so I want to celebrate that. And one thing I want to say about this book, that I just want to say the sort of the largest challenge for Josh and I translating this book is to sort of how to convey the spirit of our friend who is so tremendously playful, so tremendously gentle and good. And when I say good, I'm thinking of Simone Weil, because the goodness is tied to a capacity for a certain kind of grace. And if you read Weil, you know that this grace requires a great descending movement, which brings us to the peeing, I think. 因为还有魏晋鸾、圣教路和脑无力，我写了几首撒尿诗。别叫我诗人，请叫我撒尿人，像一颗热汤的撒尿牛丸那样，在口中急急滚动，稀稀呼出，撒尿人。I'm so happy to be reading with people who speak Chinese in the audience. Yeah. Suffering from stomach cramps, kidney problems, and muddled thinking, I wrote some pee poems. Don't call me a poet, call me a piss person, like a juicy meatball bursting suddenly in the mouth and spilling out. Piss person. 泪水化作尿液，浇灌出诗，撒尿诗。Tears become urine and irrigate the field of poetry. Hashtag pee poem. 当自由哭泣的权利也被剥夺，尿失禁就成为所剩无多的自由之一。When even the right to cry is denied, incontinence is one of the few remaining liberties. 目睹了掌权者在人民的眼眶里欺强之后，我重新发明了撒尿。Seeing rulers raise walls in the eyes of the people, I reinvent the act of pissing. 河床挽留了石头 The riverbed detains the stone, 驱逐了河 expels the river. 钟安静下来 The clock is silenced. 时间开始了 Time begins. 所有的泪水涌向海 All tears flow to the sea. 海挤满了盐 The sea is filled with salt. 一旦上路，路就再也看不到尽头。死也不是终点，而只不过是一枚苍飒、绝强的人形路标。路在大地上颠簸伸展，有如牧童手里散漫的鞭子抽打着草木、虚空，以及虚空中飘荡的灵魂。势必是良强的，却便不受阻于脚下呲牙般的蚕食，也难免失足于灵魂的坑洼。路拉扯着脚，脚拍打着路，渐行渐远，渐见不见。Once on the road, the end of the road cannot be seen, nor is death an end, it's just a sudden road sign in human shape. The road waves and winds across the earth like an unruly whip in a young shepherd's hand, lashing the grass and the void. And the soul that lingers in the void, stumbling, is inevitable. Even if the chasm doesn't get a hold of you, it's hard to avoid losing your footing in the pit of the soul. The road drags the foot smacks the road. They drift apart and gradually fade. Before I read from my new book, I wanted to read, this is called Playdate, right? So I wanted to read the end of my favorite Shelley poem. The poem's called Triumph of Light. And I would read the whole thing, but it's very long. But I wanted to read the end because what I will read after that will show you that I had a play date with Shelley. So this poem, I just want to tell you what it's about, kind of. It's I don't know, some of you probably read it. It's the last poem that Shelley wrote. It's unfinished. He died before he could finish it. And it's, he has this vision of this great crowd, and it's this sort of procession of death, Of that great crowd sent forth incessantly these shadows, numerous as the dead leaves blown in autumn evening from a popular tree, each like himself and like each other were, at first, but soon distorted, seemed to be obscure clouds molded by the casual air, and of this stuff the car's creative ray wrought all the busy phantoms that were there, as the sun shapes the clouds. Thus on the way, mask after mask fell from the countenance, and form of all, and long before the day was old, the joy which waked like heaven's glance, the sleepers in the oblivious valley died, and some grew weary of the ghastly dance, and fell, as I have fallen by the wayside, those soonest from whose forms most shadows passed, and least of strength and beauty did abide. Then what is life? I said. The cripple cast his eye upon the car, which now had rolled onward, as if that look must be the last, and answered, happy those for whom the fold of... And Shelley dies. Okay. So... So this is called And Those Ashen Heaps, That Cantilevered Vase of Moonlight. I looked up what cantilever meant the other day. I mean, I had a sense of what it meant. But now I am sure of what it means. I think it still works. Okay. And those ashen heaps, that cantilevered vase of moonlight. And as the procession before me fled, one seemed to know, as one whose years the mask and smokeless altars interpose, incessantly numerous as the dead from whose forms shadows pass. And of that great crowd rearranged, the thrush and thrift and edelweiss, a shape whose garments in the changing seasons as yet formless against the trembling, like the lifting of a veil. As in autumn time, the leaves borne onward by what through eternity re-echoes, echoes still in untilled fields, the soft and ceaseless song, unchilding, unfathering, unanimous. A shape, all light, thoroughly half-spoken. A singing, so to speak, that passed through wood and worm before the breathless bee. And having labored timeward through remaining time, what over the bent world life must borrow, that farthest nothing, that incandescent plural of the unopened handful. There the sun lingered, and soft as wind it passes. Pure moon of the doorway, pure zero in the diadems of the coffer's edge, the empty cart clattering 1 to 10, 10 to 1. All things unclose their portions in the hour of distribution, of the balancing of accounts, and those who fight for a few scraps of food to renew each day unguarded by the angels. At last, all life passes through the smiling air. Windows open noiselessly as one that in a silver vision floats, already Decembering with the aggregate of time's eternity. And life, in that black or luminous square, life lives, repeating thriftless shadow beneath the few branches galloping through night. Clear stream, wooden horse, blue sword, awaiting the few small acts of cowardice still to come.
So this is a book-length poem. Doesn't really matter what you know. From my pure throat and the tongue close behind, I have come to trip over the woman who has given birth. Gelatinous contrapuntal, bamboozled at last, and screaming again screams of the newborn, since she was there also and keeps me from my childhood. Born, 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 orphan with the middle eye, with brains of the butterfly. Between us, plus minus scuffed tips shimmering in the circular lamp, that pell-mell, night-enduring mouth. Scram, get lost, pick yourself off, you who grovel in the street, you who were born on the road to a quivering zero, profit, poor, conspiring. I apply exact numbers, the advancing sovereign spatula, and I ripen with my virginity where the void hustles to the bottom. And quivering just a little, lick my fingers, stroke the tip, and urinate in the middle, and look at the stars. And quivering just a little, and lick my fingers, and stroke the tip, and urinate in the middle of the basin, and the two dippers dipping one into the other. Remember, angels weave you, a bearded 3/4 scale redoubled on the forehead appearing by the slow piano of her hand. 2 times 9 is 18. 3 times 9 is 27. 4 times 9 is 36. 5 times 9 is 45. 6 times 9 is 54. 7 times 9 is 63. 8 times 9 is 72. 9 times 9 is 81. 1 plus 8 is 9. 2 plus 7 is 9. 3 plus 6 is 9. 4 plus 5 is 9. The hour, arranging 4 bright columns beyond the corridor of the empty child. Someone, the 5th column, remainder of the triangle, advances like a bell in the afternoon. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lynn. That was amazing. Thank you, Chia-Lun. Also amazing. And Bo. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This was, I love poetry so much. This is really just such a fucking treat. Books for sale, that away. If you want to check them out, take a look at the other shows. Yeah.